Profile share via email report story. Chapter 24 Fixing Everything. Izuku was blank. She's moving school? He asked him, with a horrified look. Bakugo nodded with a straight face. Yeah, her dad had a new job in the other side of town, so it was her decision if she wants to either stay alone or come along, he told. But she decided to come along, I guess. Izuku stared him, couldn't quite comprehend on what's happening. What is this all of a sudden? When finally he realized his true feelings for Ochako, she's going to a faraway place where he won't get to see her anymore. It's truly frustrating, sad and upsetting to hear such news. Why would she do that? He asked. Bakugo shrugged. Maybe she wasn't happy with this school, so she had to move again. Again, Izuku whispered under his breath. She's leaving next week, so don't lose your chance, he said to him, before taking the leave. The green-haired male had his eyes glued on the ground. It was absolutely devastating. He doesn't want her to leave. It was too sudden and he has no idea what to do. What are you waiting for? Hagakure asked him from behind. Huh, he turned around, seeing her with crossed arms. What do you mean? Go to her, before it's too late. His brows raised. Now, oh my gosh, Midoriya, what do you think? She's going to leave and you only got a week to see her cute and adorable face. Of course, now, what is wrong with you? She placed her hands on her head, irritated with his blocked brain. He halted her to stop her scolding. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. All right, then, I'll be going. She gave him a smile. Good luck. Izuku waved at her one last time as he started running back home, going to the love of his life and telling her how he really feels. But then, her phone vibrated in the pocket of her skirt. Hagakure took out her phone and saw a message. The person who sent it to her was someone who she never thought would text her anymore. She opened Ojiro's message and read it. Hagakure, I know this is sudden but it's serious. Please meet me at the restaurant near school. Now, she raised an eyebrow with the obviously abrupt message. She had second thoughts about it but decided to just agreed with it. It did sound pretty serious. She didn't reply back but just kept her phone back in her pocket and made her way out of the school. Dash dot. The sun was setting as the orange sunlight beamed the whole city. Izuku was just a few meters away from home. He could feel his heart beating rapidly, as it increases more and more. His veins about to pop by the massive movement of his blood flowing around it throughout his body. He wasn't prepared to say it. He was afraid and anxious just thinking of what's gonna come out from his mouth and to hear the results. He's too scared to face her. But just as he was near to his house, he caught a person standing in front of his gate. He recognized her immediately. Jiro-san. He said it from afar. What are you doing here? Promoted stories. You'll also like Mania. Katsuki Bakugo. 161K 7.6K. Mania UA. High is the birthplace of legendary pro heroes and a bountiful source of memories. Memories are meant to be cherished. Memories are what make our lives. My feelings for you. Iswocha short story. 30.9K 583. Ochako Uraraka has been best friends with Izuku Midoriya since their first year at Ua High School. She has also had a crush on him since then, but has never told him. BU. Stars aligned Katsuki Bakugo x Fem. Re. 118K 3.5K. A new student enrolled into UA, One with abilities she cannot begin to fathom, abilities she never knew of and cannot control. As dangers lurk at every corner, the couples of Class 1A, 14K421. Love is a tricky thing, and it's different for everyone. That is something the students of Class 1A quickly understand as their school life unfolds around them. Todoric, the Support General Course. Quirkless. Dec. 41K 1.3K. Izuku got into UA, just not the hero course. Taking both support and general classes, Izuku aims to graduate from UA after giving up on his hero dreams. Quirkless is, get a hint, will you? 3.4K32. Hey everyone, this is actually my first story, so I really apologize for any spelling, grammar mistakes. Completed. There will be bonus chapters, though. Related and not. A Hero's Love Desire. 3.6K71. It's almost Valentine's Day and Izuku Midoriya, Deku is starting to realize that he has a crush on Ochako Uraraka, but he doesn't know if she feels the same way. He tries. Jiro heard his voice and turned to him. She showed a surprised look as if she was embarrassed just by him looking at her. Midoriya. She looked down to the ground. What's wrong? Are you here to see Kaminari? He questioned her, as he rang the bell for the mom to open the gate. She slowly nodded as she squinted her eyes, entirely embarrassed. Why yeah, he smiled at her. Glad to hear that. Right after a few minutes, the mom opened the gate for them as the two entered the house. When they went inside, she asked, where is he? In his room, upstairs on the left at the end. He pointed the stairs. Jiro took a deep inhale and exhale after that. She bit her lip as she made her way up the stairs. As she reached his door, slowly, she knocked softly. Just as she knocked, she carefully opened the door, revealing the cold room brushing against her skin, making her shiver immediately. And the place was completely covered in darkness, as the light from the hallways was the only one shining inside the room. Kaminari, she called. In an instant, hearing that voice, sent Kaminari lifting his head up in curiosity, hearing an unfamiliar voice besides Izuku. Who's there? He weakly spoke, as if he never used his voice in days. It's Jiro, she answered. I need to talk to you. Just as he heard the name, he finally had the guts to sit up to face a person instead of shutting himself from them. Jiro was the only one he wanted to see. Jiro was the only one he wanted to talk to. He just wants Jiro with him now, Jiro. He said, showing a blank look, unable to make an expression for her. She then quietly walked closer to him on his bed and sat carefully near the edge. She looked carefully at his state. His face was pale and his hair wasn't combed in days, his eyes looking dead and baggy. He didn't look alive. It seemed like she doesn't know who he was anymore. I heard what happened last week, she told. I'm sorry about that. After that, he hugged his knees and rested his chin on it. Then, he asked in a low tone. He sounded irritated and mad. She felt uncomfortable, surprised with his attitude. Her lips formed a thin line, with her stomach filled up with guilt and embarrassment. What should she say next? About what I called you and the misunderstandings, She stopped. She couldn't finish her sentence. He growled in annoyance. You never listen and you never want to hear the truth and you get mad for false evidence from me, but it was wrong. Now, you say sorry to me, he said, with Jiro looking down, with sadness. Right after my dad died, I have to see you cry in front of my eyes. That day was just unbearable. I hated it, Kaminari, she called in a serious tone. I'm sorry. For what? She then said. I'm sorry for calling you insulting and painful names. I'm sorry for always hurting you and never understanding you. I know I've gone too far on you last week. It was quiet. No response came from Kaminari. He just kept staring at her with the eyes with no expressions. She felt uncomfortable with the awfully long silence. She tried to do something about it, so she continued. But actually, I was scared to admit these feelings whenever I'm with you. So I always thought of hurting you to forget about it, but I realized that I just made it worse and worse. Still the same expression. Why isn't he reacting? She bit her lip as she furrowed her brows. Kaminari, she called in a serious tone. I like you. I really, really like you. I'm sorry for being such a horrible person to you, but I honestly like you. You are stupid, annoying and dumb and a total pervert, but that's what I love about you. I'm sore. She bulged her eyes when he suddenly cut her off with a big hug. The tone she made her slowly turning into cries, and it was painful to Kaminari's ears but beautiful with the words she said to him. Sorry for not saying anything. I was just waiting for you to admit that. He chuckled at the end. She gritted her teeth as her eyes turned glassy and formed tears. Stupid. She laughed along with him. Kaminari made the hug tighter. Just hearing her laugh was making his heart go crazy until he can't take it anymore. He let go of her and faced at her swollen yet joyful look. She smiled at him, finally relieved, taking those words out of her which she find difficult to keep in. So, you really like me? He asked with a grin. She rolled her eyes at him and gave a small punch on his arm. He let out a laugh along with a whine. Stupid, you didn't hear what I just said. I know, but I want you to say it again. That grin got wider as he played along with his teasing attitude at her. She pouted her mouth with a bright red blush in her cheeks. Yes, I do. Kaminari widened his eyes with a blush forming in his cheeks as well. I didn't think you'd say it easily. He chuckled once again. Jiro avoided the eye contact as it followed to the ground. Hey, do you like me? She said with slight hesitation. The other boy's eyes got wider with a shocked look on his face. A smile appeared in his lips after that and smirked at her. What do you think? She gritted her teeth softly, already pissed. Gosh, why do you always say these stuffs at this tea? Before she could finish, Kaminari planted a kiss in her lips. Her eyes bulged out with her face completely red, as it burned up, his lips brushing against hers gently, making the atmosphere more soothing and calming. She then slowly closed her eyes, completely mesmerized with her first kiss. She kissed him back and felt a smile forming in Kaminari's lips after. He broke it and looked at her hooded eyes. Does that answer your question? Her eyes widened and she immediately realized what they just did. She then covered her mouth, feeling completely embarrassed as she felt her cheeks burning up red crimson. That was too sudden, she said through her palms. But it does answer your question. He laughed even more, just seeing Jiro embarrassed. She then furrowed her brows, blushing all over again. You didn't even say I love you. He cut her off, grinning widely with his cheeks red. Her eyes widened twice the size as she felt herself burning up even more. She squeaked with his sudden comment and she looked down, embarrassed to death. But she loved it, you idiot. She spoke with a smile. Kaminari chuckled as she did the same. They both finally understood each other. Hagakure entered the restaurant with a plain look plastered on her face. She doesn't know what this is all about, but all she knew is that it has to do something about Ojiro. She looked around the vicinity but no sign of him. But she caught a familiar person sitting at the end. The black hair which is tied, so she went there. She saw her. Yaoyaruzu Momo. But next to her was a middle-aged man, and in front of them was Todoroki and another male the same age as the guy next to Momo. But the guy next to Todoroki was no one other than Ojiro's dad. What's this all about? She asked. Oh, Hagakure's here. The girl looked at her right, seeing Ojiro walking towards her. She showed a confused expression. Ojiro, what's this? Sit down, was all he told her. She furrowed her brows, taking a seat next to Momo. She then asked her, quietly, what's going on? Momo shrugged back. I actually don't know. Ojiro-san just called us here. Ojiro's dad gestured his arms into a cross, looking impatient. So, Mashirao, could you tell us what's going on? Ojiro slowly took in a deep breath before he could speak. Dad, I want to make things clear here. The dad furrowed his brows at him, knowing where this was going. And he didn't like it. Mashirao, you better not. Dad, he said in a serious tone. I quit being the head of our family company. Mashirao, that's enough now. I'm not gonna discuss this nonsense negotiation. Because it's not gonna work. So we're leaving. I don't want to marry Yaoyorozu as well. Dad, I'm not listening to you this time. You know what this means, Mashirao, I will disown you, I'm warning you. He emphasized, making it clear for him. Then do it living with you doesn't make me happy anyways. Mashirao. He raised his voice. Mr. Ojiro. Suddenly Momo's dad spoke. Ojiro's dad flinched with the sudden words as he looked over to him. Stop forcing the children to do these stuffs. I had it enough. I don't want to hurt anyone just because of this company. He spoke up with anger in his tone. Both Momo and Todoroki stared intently at him, full of shock with his words. Mr. Yaoyorozu, what's the meaning of this? I thought we agreed to this. He answered back, well, I'm declining this agreement and marriage once and for all. What are you saying? His voice sounded shaky. Means that you won't join companies. He shook his head in response. I'm done with this. Ojiro's dad felt defeated. He looked over to his son, who is now giving him an angry look, telling him that he has lost this argument. He was done for. He clicked his tongue and left the table just like that. As for the rest of them, they were all speechless. Dad, Momo called out to him. He looked back at her with a sad smile. I'm sorry, Momo, for everything. Sorry for putting you through this mess. A tear escaped from her eyes, with her heart softening with the words her father just said. It was the act of forgiveness. He then looked over to Todoroki. Todoroki, you too, I didn't mean to hurt you. Todoroki widened his eyes and fidgeted his hands. Aw no, I'm sorry for punching you back in the face. I'm really, really sorry. I started all that in the first place. I shouldn't have come between you and Momo. I let my career take over me and destroyed my whole family into this. Todoroki squirmed his mouth in embarrassment as he looked down. It's okay. The three of them smiled sweetly as Todoroki and Momo both looked at each other, finally getting to see each other without a problem anymore. They were free to love each other now, Hagakure. Ojiro called. Hagakure flinched as she gazed at his eyes. Why yeah, I'm sorry for being a big coward and I chose my family business instead of you, even though I knew you were the most important one in my life, he said. Is it alright if you could give me a second chance? I promise this time, I'll never let you go. Hagakure could feel her heart thumping loudly. The person in front of her was the same guy she fell in love with last year. She felt relieved and thankful for this opportunity for them to finally come to an understanding. Tears escaped from her eyes as a sweet smile appeared in her lips. She gladly answered, I missed you so much. And, of course, I will give you another chance. Ojiro smiled back and went over to her to hug her as she began to weep. I'm sorry, Ojiro, for leaving you. She apologized through her cries. He shushed her softly as he caressed her head gently to calm her down. It's okay. I'm sorry, too. I really love you, Ojiro. Ojiro then smiled as he nodded. Yeah, I love you too. Dot. Izuku ran upstairs just as Jiro went inside Kaminari's room. He then went inside his own and immediately went to his dressing room to search for something. He spotted a long broomstick at the corner and he quickly grabbed it as he got the stick. He went to his window. As he opened it, he took in a sharp inhale and used the broomstick to knock Ochako's window. But the broom wasn't long enough, but the distance between their windows didn't look too far, though. Damn it, he swore and went back down to get something else from the cellar. Luckily, he saw a ladder, enough for it to reach her window. So he took a while to bring the awfully heavy object in his room upstairs. He slid the ladder through the window as he placed the end onto the edge of the window frame. I'm sorry for this and I hope I don't die from this, he whispered, praying hard to not face the painful consequences he's about to suffer from. He then climbed onto the ladder, coming closer to Ochako's window. He stretched his arm as it finally made it to the edge of the window frame. But just as he was about to knock onto her window, he felt the ladder slipped as it fell off and dropped dead from the high ground. Izuku gulped nervously, hoping he will not meet the same fate as the ladder. Oh no, Izuku swore even more, now hanging hopelessly between his and Ochako's window. He's literally stuck in his position and he was desperate for help. He then immediately knocked onto Ochako's window quickly, needing help since he couldn't hold on much longer. He knocked even louder, desperately hoping for a response, but there was none yet. Uraraka-san, he called out. Uraraka-san. Fortunately, he heard the lock of the window as he saw her window opened, revealing Ochako in the open. Izuku stared at her eyes. The face he always wanted to see in a long time. He missed it, he badly missed her. Everything about her is what he wanted to see now. He's completely mesmerized by her, without realizing his situation now. Deku-kun, she screamed, witnessing such abrupt case in front of her eyes, seeing Izuku hanging onto the window frame and his feet holding onto his window frame. He awkwardly chuckled in response with an embarrassed look. Hello, he greeted as he continued. Please help, sorry y'all for not posting earlier on my birthday 2 days ago. I was super busy. Exams just had me stressed ASF. Well, it's true that I could only update on Sundays. That's the perfect day to update for me since my schedule is very full. Hope you enjoyed this chapter, everyone. See you again next week. Where stories live, discover now.